Hello, welcome back. So today we're going to be talking about the new recent stuff that's happened between Amberlynn and Tammie. This topic is going to be about and relating to some pretty heavy stuff, so just be warned. I've decided the way I'm going to cover this for this particular video is in chronological order. So I'm going to tell you all the stuff that happened and my assessment of all of it, and we're going to go from start to finish just to keep it nice and neat. This video is going to stop before Amber's second live where she talks about Casey. I'm going to do a second video very shortly about Casey and all the accusations that Amber's faced of being transphobic, and then also her outing herself for lying about Casey. We already knew she was lying. It's actually a complete and total coincidence that I happened to have just covered some Casey stuff on my channel and now this has happened. It is a total coincidence. It's kind of, I suppose, helpful in a way that we've literally just watched both of those two videos from Amber because now they're fresh in our minds when we address the Casey stuff, but that is going to be in the next video. But for now, we're going to cover Tammie and the allegations from Amber and all of that new stuff. This is the meat of the situation that unfolded last night between Amberlynn, Reid and Tammie, where Amberlynn makes claims that her Aunt Tammie is a PDF apologist. We're going to get into what she said, why that's so ironic, and all of that in this video. So at some point last night, it was last night for me, I was blissfully asleep, Tammie posted this video to YouTube. In this video, she shows a screenshot of a conversation between Amber and her Aunt Tammie after Amber broke up with her ex Casey, who is the one that Amber accused of R-word. If you want to know all about those accusations, you can go and watch these two videos or just go on YouTube and search for Amberlynn Casey drama. You'll know about it. It's one of the worst things Amber ever did. This screenshot that Tammie shared, this is it here, you can see Amber answering her Aunt Tammie, who asks her if she's happy, and this is what Amber says. It's a completely different lifestyle here. They are rich and so friendly. She's talking about Crystal's family, who she cheated on Casey with and moved in with. Crystal is a complete sweetheart. I'm still missing and loving Casey though. I feel like that will never end. So that sentence there, I'm still missing and loving Casey though. I feel like that will never end. That sentence shows that Amber is missing and loving a person who she claimed was extremely physically and verbally abusive towards her and R-worded her. We're already pretty certain that Amber lied about her Casey accusations, but this screenshot is new evidence that makes it even more obvious that Amber was lying about that. So Tammie posted this video, then 3 hours later, Amber went live. This is the live stream here. It was only 11 minutes. People are saying that Amber didn't see Tammie's video before she went live. I don't know if that's true. Either way, the live is extremely revealing. And this is the live where Amber accuses Tammie of being a PDF apologist. Now, it looks to me like Amber saw Tammie's video where this whole Casey thing was brought back up again, and then Amber went live and made these allegations. But you have to note, and I will mention this in the video, Amber doesn't mention the Casey allegations or Tammie's video in this live. It's possible she didn't see it. It's possible she did see it, and this live is her punching back at Tammie. I really just don't know, but we're going to get into this live now. So the live opens and Amber seems to be in a very, very good mood. She's smug, she's happy, she's bouncy. She tells somebody in the chat that she's doing well and she's all smiley. Watch this.
Hello. Yes, Kendra, I'm good. How are you? But I did get permission to say whatever I wanted. So why I'm laughing. I shouldn't be laughing. It's really not funny. It's not at all.
It goes without saying, even though I'm about to, that this is very, very, very strange energy to bring to a video where you're accusing your aunt of being a PDF apologist. We'll get more into how Amber behaves and all of that in a minute, but during the chat, somebody asks her this, what's bad, girly pop? This is because the live was called This is Bad, or something like that. This is the live here. In response to this question, what's bad, girly pop? Amber says this.
What's bad, girly pop? Oh my god, I found out some stuff about my aunt today that has, or it was yesterday, that genuinely just has me like jaw on the floor type deal. Jaw on the floor type deal.
Her attitude in this video and generally throughout this live is actually really abhorrent. I wouldn't personally say that jaw on the floor type deal is the kind of sentence that I would use about serious Very, very, very serious allegations of the type which Amber's making in this video. Amber's positive, she's giddy, she's bubbly, she's excited, she's smug, and you can tell by the way that she's acting and the way that she's speaking in this live that she is happy that she's found this out. She's not affected by it, she's not angry or bothered or sad, she's pleased that now she knows this, she can use it against Tammie. That's just my opinion. Later in the live, Amber does try to make us think that this is really difficult and really triggering for her. She calls it heartbreaking and so on, but if you look at how she actually acts and how she actually speaks, does this look like a person who's triggered to you?
Spill the tea. She has no issue spilling it. Yeah, I'm gonna definitely spill the tea, but I'm gonna try to do it very like low key. I'm gonna dumb it down because like some of it's very personal to other people, but I did get permission to say whatever I wanted. So I'm gonna do, I'm gonna try to be like morally me. Like I don't want to like spill too hard, but she wants to come out popping. I'm gonna come out popping. I don't even know where to begin with. You guys, I'm laughing because some of it's funny. I'm only gonna say a couple things. Some of it's funny, and the other stuff is like so serious.
She's laughing and happy and gleeful in this live, and that's really important. If the information which she claims that she's just received, and we'll get into that in a minute, is true, it's fucking awful, and it should not be making Amber happy. This is a serious, heavy topic, and it should be handled with care and respect by everyone who talks about it, including Amber. There is no thoughtfulness in the way that she handles this. She's just cocky. There's even a bit where somebody comments in the chat, this is after she's already made the allegations, but it's relevant to us now. The person comments, "You thought you ate," and Amber makes a joke. Watch this.
You thought you ate. Actually, no, I didn't, but I did just eat Chick-fil-A.
This kind of response, I think, is really crazy. So someone saying to you, wow, you thought you ate, you thought this was a good thing, or you thought this was some sort of moment that you had telling everyone about this. And instead of responding something serious like, no, I didn't think I ate, I just wanted this information to be public about this awful person. Instead, you make a joke about the Chick-fil-A that you just ate. It doesn't read as genuine, it reads as very disingenuous to me. And it makes me question what was Amber's motive in bringing this all up, but we'll come to that in a second. First, we do have to be aware of the timing. So if you look at the timing of this, Tammie made her video where she posted this text between Amber and Casey, and then like 3 hours later, Amber goes live. It's not a scheduled live, it's just a completely random one. So I think it's very likely that Amber saw these allegations levelled against her by Tammie, repeated allegations that she's lying about her Casey story, which of course she absolutely is, and she didn't know what to do, so she went live and pointed the finger at Tammie. Think about the way Amber talked about this. So you just heard Amber describing her telling this story as her coming out popping.
But she wants to come out popping. I'm gonna come out popping.
And this is so crazy, and it just shows that Amber thinks that her telling this story of what Tammie allegedly did is her popping back at Tammie. So it shows that it's a kind of attack or a kind of revenge. And that really makes me question Amber's motive. I believe that Amber's motive in doing this is distraction. When she gets accused of something, she brings up something else to distract or deflect. And that's exactly what she's doing here. She is levelling one of the worst possible allegations that there are against Tammie. And you do have to ask yourself, why would she do this? And you also have to note, when you think about Amber's motive, that in this live stream, she doesn't address any of the accusations in Tammie's video. She doesn't talk about Tammie's video at all. She doesn't mention Casey. She doesn't talk about any of that stuff. So technically, this live isn't a response to Tammie's video, but then if you look at the timing, it does seem like it's a direct response. Tammie bolsters the accusation against Amber that she's lying with her Casey R-word claims, and then Amber goes live and makes claims back against Tammie. It's pretty obvious, I think, that these two situations are related, even though Amber doesn't mention Tammie's video in her live stream. So that's the context. Now, before Amber makes the big allegation, first of all, she mentions the ridiculousness about Tammie's Beanie Babies having a menstrual cycle or some stupidity. Watch this.
You guys should ask Tammie, do your Beanie Babies have a menstrual cycle? I know you guys are probably gonna be like, what are you talking about? Just say, "Do your beanie babies have a menstrual cycle?"
This is just weird. So she brings up this strange, we don't even know what it's about. She doesn't say, of course she doesn't say, but she's bringing up this strange thing about Tammie's beanie babies having a menstrual cycle. I literally don't know what she's talking about, but what's strange to me is that she thinks of these two instances as being like conflated. So she goes, I found out multiple things about her. One of them is clearly some sort of stupid joke about an inanimate object having a menstrual cycle, and the other is accusing another person publicly of forcing a child to lie about their experience of SA. Those two things shouldn't even be in the same mouthful. They are completely different in terms of how serious they are, how important they are, and yet Amber, in the clip I just showed, calls all of this stuff tea.
Spill the tea. She has no issue spilling it. Yeah, I'm gonna definitely spill the tea.
Now, I don't think that accusing your auntie of making children lie about their SA is tea in any kind of way. The fact that she would even use the word tea to describe this just shows you where her mind was at with this topic. Then, after mentioning this weird beanie baby tea, which isn't even tea, this is when she starts to make out that this topic is hard for her to speak about.
And I want to make it very well known that how I found this stuff out is from her daughter, the daughter that literally will not speak to her. And it genuinely breaks my heart. It's hard for me to even speak about these things because of like what I found out, because like the most serious thing for me.
Now, did it seem to you like Amberlynn Reid was in any way heartbroken when she was talking about this at the beginning of the live? No, she was gleeful. She was loving it. Amber doesn't care about the alleged victims. She's happy that she's got something to throw at Tammie. She doesn't care what she's throwing or how bad it is. She is happy that she's just got something to make Tammie look bad. And this is so revealing as to why she's doing this. Her motive, it's just to ruin Tammie. Now immediately, literally immediately after saying how serious and how bad this is for her, she then straight away levels these accusations back against Geordie. So in Amberlynn Reid's head, she's talking and she goes, this is really sad, this is really heartbreaking and serious, but look how bad Geordie is, don't forget how bad Geordie is, which is just weird and inappropriate, and it shows you the whole reason that she's brought this up is to try and punish Tammie and make Tammie and Geordie look bad. Listen to this.
Geordie is actively having a PDF apologist on his live stream, and he's supporting that. So I want to make that very well known that he is speaking to someone who stayed married to a PDF, someone who children. And you know what my aunt did? She forced these little kids to say that they were lying. So Auntie, take that and fuck yourself. That's what I gotta say.
So there it is. Those are the allegations that Amber makes. And the way she goes, go fuck yourself, with this kind of like sassy head tilt is so inappropriate. She is so happy that she found this out. She thinks this is a gotcha moment. So those are the accusations. That's what Amber said and why I think she said it. And we're going to get now into a little bit of analysis. So the first section of analysis is called, I've called it, hypocrite-lynn, because hypocrite-lynn is putting in an absolute shift in this live stream. There isn't like a neat, structured way that I can hit all of these hypocritical points, so we're just going to literally do them like 1, 2, 3, 4. So number 1, Amber claims that Tammie did this so that she could stay married to this man, and she says this like this is some kind of awful thing, which of course, if it's true, it absolutely is, and we're going to get into analysis and critique of Tammie in a little while, so don't worry, I'm not ignoring that. But if Amber's point here is that you're awful if you stay married to an abusive individual or somebody who does this kind of stuff, then Amber is absolutely a hypocrite, because her own mother is still married to her father, who has been accused many times of all kinds of actual crimes. I've seen the court documents of the things that he has been accused of, and it is abhorrent. Granted, there's nothing on there that's directly PDF related, but there is some child endangerment and such, I think. All you have to do is go on Kiwi Farms to find out about all of that. But Amber's mum is still married to Amber's dad, who did all of this horrendous stuff. So if she's holding Aunt Tammie to this standard, she ought to be holding her mother to this standard as well. Now, I understand that Amber's father has not been accused of PDF related stuff, so that is different, but I do still think that there is a correlation between accusing a woman of staying with a man who is absolutely awful and making that accusation against Tammie, but not seeing that she's hypocritical because her mum has done and is doing exactly the same thing. And Aunt Tammie has admitted herself that the man she was married to was horrible.
I was in a very marriage for almost 16 years. The kind of marriage that puts the fear in your soul to leave. The kind of man that looks at you in your eyes and says, till death do us part. And he means it.
So it's not like Aunt Tammie is still married to him. She seems to have known that he was not somebody she wanted to be with, so she divorced him, which is more than can be said for Mama Lynn. Also, Amber has said a few times on her channel that she loves her dad unconditionally, despite all of the stuff that we know he's done.
And I love my dad very much. I love him unconditionally. I love him with all of me.
And again, I know that what he's done is not as bad as what she's accusing Tammie's ex-husband of doing, but it's still serious and bad allegations. So I can kind of see that there's some hypocrisy happening there, even though the crimes are not the same. Hypocrite-lynn strikes again in number 2, which is the fact that she herself is a proven, documented PDF apologist. This fact alone, the irony of it, that Amber would sit on her live stream and accuse somebody else of being a PDF apologist when we have hard evidence, which I'm about to show you, that she is, in fact, or at least has been, a massive PDF apologist. So let's get into that now. There are also, of course, all of the PDF adjacent allegations against Amber herself. I made this video here. If you want to watch that, it is age restricted, so you'll have to log in. But if you want to see all of that laid out, there's loads of videos about it by other people, but you can also watch mine. That's that one there. So crazy that she has these allegations herself, and yet she's saying this about Tammie. It's mental. So in terms of the PDF apologist stuff, this is a selection of the things that we've seen Amber say. Granted, these were from quite a while ago, but Aunt Tammie's been divorced from her ex-husband for 10 years, so whatever she did was also a long time ago, right? So if we're holding people to standards from the past, then I'm well within my rights to hold Amber to these screenshots, so let's do that now. On Ask FM, somebody says to her, "We often say you can't select who you fall in love with, but with this being said, does it mean that it's okay for, word I can't say, to love children, or for people to be in love with animals, etc.? Why not?" And Amber says, "I always ask myself this question. That's the exact reason why I keep my opinions to myself regarding this and just let people do what they want. Might be gross, weird to me, but to someone else it's normal, just like me being a lesbian. Just like me being a lesbian. People hate it, judge it, find me disgusting, etc. But I expect them to accept me, so I accept others." Now that is one of the most unbelievable things I've ever seen in my life. Somebody says to her, "You can't select who you fall in love with. Does it mean it's okay for those, bad word I can't say, to love children, for people to be in love with animals?" So she's talking about 2 crimes. And Amber's response, right there, she said this, "I keep my opinions to myself regarding that. It might be weird to me, but to someone else it's normal." Imagine that. I almost feel like me getting into that more is just kind of pointless, because you can see how absolutely ridiculous that is. Then somebody replies or asks her another question afterwards saying, "Did you seriously just excuse word I can't say and compare it to how people might feel about you being a lesbian? It is completely different. There is nothing wrong with being gay, however, there is no excuse. It is not normal or right, and we should not just accept it." And Amber backtracks, and you can see this is dated, so it's May 1st, 2014. She says, "It's not something I want to accept per se, but I know how it feels to be judged. You can't help how you feel, right? I'd rather just not have to deal with any of it." Fucking crazy. She is without a doubt 100% being a apologist in this comment. Somebody else says, word I can't say, "It's not a matter of you can't help how you feel." And Amber says, "Actually it is. It's a sickness. Just like cancer or depression or obesity. It's a sickness. You can't control sickness. You can get help, but that only goes so far." Again, absolute PDF apology from Amber. So her being so happy and excited to find out this news and share it with the internet and be incredibly smug during it is really, really horrible and leaves a very bad taste in my mouth. There's a few other things I find really strange in this live. We'll address how credible Tammie's claims are in just a minute, so hang on for that. But first, we're going to discuss Amber rage quitting. So after Amber drops this allegation, she then rage quits the live, and there's quite a lot to talk about there, so just watch this.
I will not stand for a PDF apologist and someone who forces little children to say that they lied about it. No wonder why, when I share my story about what happened to me when I was 7, you sit there and call me a liar. You are sick. Period.
Amber says here that Aunt Tammie called her a liar age 7, but in fact, Amber recently reacted to Tammie's interview with Geordie, where Amber hears Tammie saying that she didn't know what happened and that she knew Amber made these claims, but she wasn't sure if they were true because she wasn't around.
During the Kiwi Farms days, we're sitting there saying that I never had that happen to me when I was 7 years old, and my mom had to tell you, yes, it did happen.
If you go back and read it, or even the current ones, I say I wasn't around during that time.
Well, remember that.
Was on your dad's side. I thought it was his sister, and then I had heard about it from you, but I wasn't around. I don't know what happened.
Please
So
remember.
how can I say if it happened or not?
Please remember those words. You weren't around.
So you can hear Amber saying, you don't know, you weren't there. That doesn't sound to me like Tammie claiming that Amber is lying. That sounds to me like Tammie claiming that she doesn't know. But being fair to Amber, it could be here that she's referring to when Tammie was initially told about it, that she then didn't believe Amber and that Mama Lynn had to tell her it was true. And if that is the case and that did happen, she's clearly since come to stick with the opinion that she doesn't know if it's true or not, because that's what we just heard her say. So towards the end of the live, the chat start asking Amber for proof of her claims against Tammie. They say things like this: prove it or shut up, prove it, show us some proof, proof, you have nothing, ALR. Now you can see this person here, Cass, just type the word proof. Now Amber is not happy about this.
You don't have proof of something like that, Cass. That's really gross to say. And then like the fact that no one's like, my aunt can like spew off the most random unhinged shit, and people are like just believing it. No one's saying proof or anything. Like that's really sad. Wow. This community is so fucking unhinged. Every time I come on here and I'm triggered because like it happened to me when I was 7 and my own aunt didn't believe it and my mom had to be like, it really happened. The fact, like every time I come on here, I'm more shocked and shocked by the minute. I'm genuinely more shocked and shocked by the minute. Well, for some drama, people would support someone like that. No.
So that is the rage quit. That's her stopping the live and giving up because the chat is asking her for proof which she clearly doesn't have. Now I think, as I've said, that people asking Amberlynn Reid for proof of her claims is normal and expected because she is famous for lying. And clearly she has no proof and she can't prove it because if she could, she would. But I will say that this kind of claim, ones about this sort of situation, can be extremely hard to prove. You can't get a document to prove that somebody tried to convince somebody else to do something. There might be some proof, and if there is, I'm sure the farms will find it, of Tammie's ex-husband being accused of this kind of thing, which would be a step towards it looking like it might be true. If that exists, I'm sure it will be found. So that's one way that some proof could come into the equation, but as it stands right now, there isn't any. And I just have to acknowledge that getting proof for something like that would be very difficult. However, that doesn't really matter because it's not so much the fact that Amber doesn't have proof that's the problem here. It's the way she responds. It's the way she reacts when she's asked for proof. I feel that a slightly more normal or measured response to being asked for proof of something like this, when you're making serious allegations, so you know that people might want proof, you could stay really calm and say something like, I'm really sorry, but this isn't something that I have evidence for. And then you could just say, you're going to have to take my word on it. The problem with that is that Amber's word is absolutely shot to hell and means nothing, so she can't say that. But she could still say, I'm really sorry guys, I haven't got any proof right now, but I promise that I'm telling the truth. I mean, her saying that would mean nothing, but it would be slightly more responsible of a reaction than just rage quitting her live, which is what she does. The rage quitting is a very suspicious way to react. You've made a serious allegation against somebody, a very, 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 very bad allegation. You can't then be surprised when somebody asks you to prove it, especially when you're a known liar. And that's partially why this rage quit was so confusing to me. Now, although Amber couldn't necessarily provide any kind of proof, what she could have provided was more context. She says at the beginning of the live she's going to dumb it down for us, but I think what she means by that that is, I'm going to level the accusation, but I'm going to give you no checkable context. Amber does this with things that she's lying about all the time. She tells you an isolated individual piece of information, missing out all of the relevant surrounding context so that you can't validate it against anything. You can't check it against timing or things that you do know. She doesn't give us a year. She doesn't give us a victim. Of course, she wouldn't give us a victim, but she doesn't tell us anything about who they might have been. I'm not saying that she should. I'm just giving examples of the type of context that she could give for this alleged thing that happened. We can't check any of her claims against anything, so that makes it really hard. And then when she goes on to use her classic line of, well, people in my audience believe bad stuff that other people say even without any proof.
And then like the fact that no one's like, my aunt can like spew off the most random unhinged shit, and people are like just believing it, no one's saying proof or anything.
This is absolutely not true, because claims that are made by other people, oftentimes they do include lots of proof. Tammie's shown all kinds of screenshots of many of her various claims, but also there is context that lines up with the other people that have come out. And I've said this before, Destiny's story corroborates Casey's story. Emily's story corroborates Casey's story. These people's examples do often come with evidence, but where they don't, they align with the stories of other people and with the exact behaviour that we've seen Amber do. So although many of these people do give proof, when they don't, the story is still very credible. And Amber's response validates their story. For example, Beck came out and made allegations about wiping, which Amber then confirmed in the way that she responded. So proof is great, but it's not always needed. But I will also say that lots of reactors and lots of the audience haven't believed everything they've been told. They have been very hesitant. Loads of people have said, fuck Amber and fuck Tammie too. Lots of people have said, well, I'll believe whoever shows the most proof. That's what I said when it came to the Emily-Amber situation. I said, we'll have to wait and see. I'll believe whoever shows the evidence. And I think that is a fair enough thing to say as a commentator, and a fair enough thing to think as a member of the audience. But also, when it comes to this rage quit, you can see Amber reading the chat, and she's looking to see if what she perceived as her trump card or her massive smackdown against Tammie has worked. But all she sees is the chat asking for proof. So she goes classic Amberlynn Reid and she starts crying.
And I'm triggered because like it happened to me when I was 7 and my own aunt didn't believe it. And my mom had to be like, it really happened.
All the bravado and the laughter and the hilarity of the beginning of the live is gone because she realises that her trump card, her final big move where she tries to put Tammie into checkmate by trying to make Tammie look like a PDF apologist, hasn't worked. People don't believe Amber, they're just asking her for proof. And this makes her angry, and so she decides to fall back on her usual last line of defence, which is victimhood. She starts crying. She mentions being triggered again. And this is what she always does. It's like she's played this card, and then she's looked at the results in the chat, and she's gone, oh shit, my audience haven't fallen for this, so now I'm going to have to revert back to my original stance or my base stance, my last line of defence, which I've said already, but I do really feel that's what it is. The bravado fades away and the lies fade away and you get to the core centre of Amber and it is just, oh my god, the final thing I can possibly do is break down and cry and hope that you feel sorry for me. And I think that's what we see her do in this live, and it is fascinating. So then, following this live stream from Amber, it was only about a couple of hours ago, Tammie responded, and she responded by making this video here. There's no talking in this video, there's just some music and some screen grabs. So we're going to review these screenshots now because they are Tammie's response and they're quite interesting. So the first is this. It's a picture of a statue of Socrates and it says, when the debate is lost, slander becomes the tool of the losers. And although this sentence, the debate is lost, the loser starts slandering the other person, it is quite true and it's an interesting insight. Socrates never actually said it. Socrates never actually wrote anything down at all. So almost everything that he allegedly said was written down by his student Plato, and much of what he said is subject to scrutiny. So the likelihood that Socrates actually said this is minimal. I wasn't going to mention that, but I'm a philosophy grad, so I feel like I kind of have to. But the point is, although Socrates never said this, I can see why Tammie's included it. Her point is, it's very clear, Amber is slandering me. That's a very obvious response. Amber said this, Tammie doesn't give any description, Tammie doesn't give any explanation, any defence. She just says, I am being slandered. Then she makes these posts. So she puts here an example of when punitive damages can be payable. You can read it here, but it says when the defendant acted maliciously. Now, I think it's very true that Amber did act maliciously in this video. Then there's this screenshot here, not sure exactly where this is from, it might be some sort of website or something, but it says, truth, if the defendant shows the statement they made was true, you cannot win a slander lawsuit. Truth is an absolute defense to slander. And Tammie's highlighted that in yellow, and she's also highlighted compensation for slander. If you can prove you were slandered, you can obtain compensation for your damages in a slander lawsuit. This can include payment for the following, and then she's highlighted emotional distress or mental anguish resulting from false claims and the resulting consequences. So although Tammie isn't speaking here, her answer is very clear. You are slandering me. And that's what she claims. Then she puts this screen. I've got the receipts, but I don't know what receipts she's talking about. Could it be receipts that Amber's lying? Then she puts this. Some of the most poisonous people come disguised as family. Then she puts this. The truth always comes out in the end, no matter how hard anyone tries to hide it or stop it. Lies are just the temporary delay to the inevitable. And I think that that is usually probably true. I think in the case of Amber, it seems like it is true. It looks like her lies are coming home to roost, and it does seem like the pressure is on her big time. Then she puts this picture of Adele and she writes, see you in court. Or the meme says, see you in court. So the storyline and the response that you get from those pictures in that video is very clear. She's being slandered and she wants to take Amber to court. How interesting would it be if the person who finally gets Amber in court was Aunt Tammie? There's something that like glitches and goes wrong in my brain when I try and imagine Amber actually having a lawsuit brought against her and actually going to court, but it could happen. What she's claimed is very serious. My first thought when I watched Tammie's response here was I would have appreciated a more detailed response. The claims made against Tammie are very serious, and if they're true, they are awful. And I understand that this is, you know, for us it's just internet drama and silliness and girl world drama. We can log off. For these people, it's their actual lives. Tammie is actually being accused of this. So I understand why she might hold her cards close to her chest and not give the internet a load more information, because she's planning on giving that information to her lawyer. And I hope that is the case, because if Amber is lying, this absolutely is slander. I hope that if that is the case and Amber is lying, then she can exercise her right to use the law against Amber, and I hope that happens. If Amber isn't lying and Tammie has done this, then she can rot. And this is something I've already covered a little bit in the video, but I think it's really important to say that I know nothing about Tammie's actual character. I've analysed the way she's responded to Amber, and I've stood very firm on the fact that I think she loves Amber, or at least did love Amber, and she absolutely loved and cared about her sister very much, and I think that that is true. However, people can do horrible, awful things, but still love and care about their own family members. So I don't know where other reaction channels are going to land on this, but I am landing very firmly on the fence that I don't know whether Tammie did this or not, whether she would have done it or not. And although I believe she has spoken with integrity regarding the situation about her and Amber, and I found her to be far more credible of the two, that doesn't mean that I'm sitting here saying that I believe that she didn't do this. I just literally don't know. And anyone who claims that they do know, I mean, Amber's a massive liar, so it's far more likely that it's not true, but I'm not going to defend Tammie when I have no reason either way. So for anyone who's asking, I'm firmly on the fence about this until I see evidence, because that's all I can do. I'm not going to defend somebody against claims like this from, you know, a feeling. No way. But as I was saying, I didn't love Tammie's response because I would have wanted a little bit more detail, but then I remember I'm not the court, I'm not Tammie's lawyer, so it kind of makes sense that she would keep quiet and take this information to her, you know, her legal counsel. And if she has proof, then she really might have a case here. So if she is going to be suing, then she's probably quite clever to not say too much. So I'd understand that. But what I will say is that I bet the Instagram DMs of Amberlynn Reid's law student friend are absolutely popping off right now. And if that person has any kind of brain, they won't be giving Amber any legal advice. And she might have to get an actual lawyer. And it looks like that might be the outcome that we're heading for. I'm going to say for now that that is where I'm going to stop it. I haven't checked if Tammie's commented anything underneath her recent video, the one where she claims she's going to sue Amber for defamation, so I don't know if there's been further developments, and I reckon there will be lots of things that come out over the next little while, so I'll try to keep updated with that. The most important thing and the biggest takeaway for me, I think so far, is Amber is a hypocrite. Tammie could be awful, but we don't know. And that the attitude that Amber brought this piece of information to the internet with was absolutely abhorrent. Sometimes I get annoyed at myself because for me, Girl World, it's a mixture of a laugh, a side hustle, it's entertaining, it's a character study, there's a bit of philosophy there, there's a lot of psychology, I mean, absolutely armchair psychology, for me at least, going on there. And I don't want to get too angry about it, but then at the same time, the topics are really serious. So sometimes, being honest, I don't know how to respond. I do sit here and think, how do I want to respond to this? How serious do I want to be? And sometimes I think I come across really like, I'm Rachel, I'm angry, I'm serious. And then sometimes I make stupid fucking jokes, and I don't always know where to gauge it, and that's just the absolute truth for you guys. But I think it's very clear to me that the way that Amber disclosed this information to the internet, the atmosphere, the attitude, the motivation, the way she spoke, the lack of respect and seriousness and sincerity was without a doubt wrong. And yeah, I'm sure my opinion on this will develop, so as that happens, we'll see how it goes. But yeah, Casey coverage pending. And I think I'm going to have to do another glitter and lasers try on after this because my god, this is heavy. But I chose to do it, so I can't complain, and I'm not complaining. I really appreciate the opportunity to make these videos. Go and do something nice for yourself after watching this now. I'm going to go and give Molly a cuddle. I think you might have just heard her barking then. I'm also going to crack open a cold Dr. Pepper and edit this video. Okay, cool. I'll see you guys later. Take care. Bye.